How do you like my hedgehog mittens? Here he is waving hello. A few updates. First of all, I'm currently reading, after finishing the RFK book, I'm now reading A Plague Upon Our House, I think it's called, by Scott Atlas. It's about how he fought to be as much as scientific as possible at the Trump White House. And from what I've read until now, I think 4 chapters, he's being pretty fair. Um, also, sorry for the noise. This is going to be a short one today. There's been an update about locking down the unjabbed. I mean, in Austria, they're locking down the unjabbed, and in Germany, the same. But what happens in Israel is actually pretty much the same, and it's been going on for at least 6 months now, if I'm not mistaken. So you can't sit even outside at a restaurant, and now they added a new rule. First of all, they wanted to divide people who enter the mall into people who wore 2 kinds of bracelets, one who was jabbed and the other wasn't jabbed. And the store owners basically said that it's not fair, not ethical, and they dropped it. So then they decided to pass a law or something, a decree, I don't even know how it works these days, that you can enter the mall, but you can't buy anything. So it's like, I mean, if I'm standing next to someone who's been jabbed and I am walking around in the same store, then they are safe from me. If I am trying on a piece of clothing, they're safe. But if I pay for it, that's where the danger begins. And the more ridiculous the measures, the more people are starting to wake up. And many people don't want to jab their kids. Today there was a story about a child who told his mother that the kindergarten teacher came up to every single 5-year-old in her class and asked if they've been jabbed. And if they have, she gave him a piece of candy, and if not, she didn't. Now, I immigrated to Israel in the exact same age, when I was the exact same age. And in kindergarten, in 1st grade, 2nd grade, there was a rule that if a child invites some people from the class to their birthday or brings cake, they have to share it with everyone. They have to invite everyone in the class. And, you know, you're a nerd and you're having language problems because you're you're an immigrant. And some kids are meaner than others. And so some of them did discriminate, but the teachers told them that they couldn't discriminate if they're not inviting me for the party or something like that to the party. So I was always invited, and I actually managed to make friends that way, or at least learn that if somebody doesn't want me there, then if they don't mean the invitation, I should just stay home. It depended on how much I wanted to be accepted by back then. But then came the 3rd grade, and some kids started doing the same thing. But the teacher was a horrible teacher, and she would invite us to the front of the class, and she would make us give her our bags, our school bags, and she would spill the entire school bag onto the teacher's desk, and she would laugh at us if we didn't throw something away that we should have, if there's a piece of garbage in the bag. And let's just say that I wasn't the neatest student in the world in 3rd grade. And so she would laugh at me, and I started skipping school because of it, because I didn't feel comfortable being there. And there were a few kids who basically, I don't know if I can explain it in a few seconds, but because the Ashkenazi Jews discriminated against the Moroccan Jews, it's basically white and brown people all the time, unfortunately. So when the Russian immigration wave came, many of their parents of these same children who went to my class, they still had these grudges. And they took them out on the Russian immigrants, despite the fact that the Russian immigrants were very happy to be friends with everyone. And I envied my Moroccan friends because they were able to get a suntan, and I wasn't. So basically, when I would get beat up at school, or when somebody didn't invite me to a birthday party or something, it would usually happen because they would say that their parents told them that I'm not Jewish enough or something like that. So, I mean, I'm not saying this to be proud. I'm saying this to just to say that everything is the same everywhere. It's not about Judaism in this case, but it's about you're an immigrant, you belong here, you don't belong here, go back where you came from, and all that. We all know this from where we live. And in this case, when the teacher didn't do anything about it, the kids were able to implement their parents' preconceived notions. And I thought that it had ended. I thought that now the Russian immigrants have already become part of the Israeli population. Those of us who were able to learn the language and incorporate ourselves into the culture without losing our traditions, but still, I feel like in Israeli, I just also celebrate New Year's Eve, for example, because that's a Russian tradition. So I feel like a full-time Israeli. Not now, honestly, but before that I did. And so when I lost my train of thought, I'm sorry. Basically, when we grew up, some kids decided to stay with their Russian friends, and others, like me, decided to make friends of all creeds and colors, and I don't know, just because I wanted to be a part of the Israeli experience. And I'm not judging anyone by their decisions. Everyone had different experiences, and some people immigrated when they were older, so it was a little bit more difficult for them to learn the language and the culture. So I'm not judging anyone, but I am judging the fact that I thought that we'd gotten over this, because now nobody discriminates against Russians or Moroccans or Ethiopians unless it's someone in the government, and then we talk about it. Because, by the way, in RFK's book, there was a piece about Israel. Apparently, so I was on a medication called Lupron. It's Depo-Lupron. And it basically sterilizes you for 3 months. And I had to take it because my cancer diagnosis was hormone positive, and this thing makes sure that you don't have hormones in your body, female hormones circulating in your body while you're undergoing cancer treatments. It's not a fun thing to take, and it's really dangerous, and I knew it before I took it, but I had to take it because the doctors convinced me. But there was a different kind of medication that was very similar but called a different name, and it's called Depo-Provera. Depo-Provera. And women with endometriosis know this because gynecologists usually recommend it to every single person who complains about pain or anything like that. Same with birth control pills, which is why I'm now battling cancer. So yeah. So it turns out that the reason Israel doesn't have Depo-Provera is because some eugenicist doctors gave this to Ethiopian women so that they would not be able to conceive without telling them. And when that scandal came out, by the way, I've never heard of it, and I was really interested in eugenics my entire life. So they did manage to keep it quiet. But then they banned it, and this is the reason why. So I couldn't take Depo-Provera. I had to take Depo-Lupron, which is the exact same drug, which is the stupidest thing. It's like killing someone with an aspirin and telling another person, you know what, we banned aspirin because somebody tried to kill you with it, but here you go, here's, I don't know, ibuprofen or something like that, which is the equivalent. So the stupidity just goes on. But basically, I wish I knew more about Israeli eugenicists in the present. I only learned recently after watching Yellowstone that they were forcibly sterilizing indigenous people, indigenous women, both in America and in Canada. But in Israel, I didn't know. I figured we were, I don't mean to say it in such a pretentious way, but I figured humanity was better, you know. I didn't even know there was eugenics in the United States or in Canada until now, but I didn't know there was eugenics in Israel until now. I knew about the past, but not about the present, if it makes sense. So, lost my train of thought completely. So, the regular population, not only are they not discriminating against anyone, but they're allergic to discrimination. So if you don't let an Arab work at a workplace, it gets into the papers. If you don't let a black person inside a restaurant, which never happens, but if it had, it would reach the papers instantly. We have LGBT representatives in every party, which is why when we have a gay Likud member who's basically a Republican, an Israeli conservative, and he's gay, and he and his partner had a baby by, what do you call it? Basically when you pay a woman to have your baby. So, sorry, I know the word, just forgot it. And the entire left started calling him Nazi because he's doing the exact same thing the left is doing, but the left gay people are doing, but he's a right-wing gay, so he couldn't say or do the exact same things. Basically, Israel is was pretty evened out in terms of race and sexual orientation. Religion, obviously not, because there's a Jewish majority, but everything else. And again, the Christians celebrated Christmas and all. I don't know if they checked green passes at the churches because they didn't bother going, but I was told that some people went and they weren't asked about their jab status, so I'm a little bit more hopeful about our Christian population than I am about our Jewish population, which is, I believe in God, and I came here to live as an Israeli Jew, and I'm having some serious second thoughts about my faith. I know not to blame God or the faith and to blame the people, and if you read the Torah or the Bible, you know that Jews have disappointed God and disobeyed him many, many times. But yeah, I'm having some interesting thoughts about religion and humanity in general. I don't know if I can avoid it. Yeah. So thank you for listening, and I don't know, ask me questions if you have any. I'll do my best to answer them. And watch Yellowstone because I said so. Because it's an amazing series, and not only is it an amazing series, but it shows that not all Americans are like the ones in the movies or in New York City or in California, and some people actually sorry that I use this term, but real Americans and not fake Americans looking into communism and stuff like that, because now it's becoming very obvious. Yeah, don't let them take your guns. They took ours. I mean, I don't know if they even gave us guns in the first place. But those who go to the army, unless they continue as a police officer or something, their guns are taken away. And so now they allowed the police to enter here without a warrant, to enter a house without a warrant. And if they do that, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'll update, I guess, if I can. So yeah. Oh, and watch Del Bigtree's last show. He had an interview with the filmmaker Mickey Willis, and he told the story. I've been wondering where the gay people who lost their friends and partners thanks to Fauci are. And Mickey Willis is one person who lost his brother to AZT. And he said that when his brother was taking AZT, those who knew the truth came up to him and told him not to take it because it's going to kill him. And he was watching TV and he saw Fauci on TV with Mother Teresa, which now we know about Mother Teresa, but okay. And he was basically going around with celebrities and raising funds for AIDS when they claimed that the Republicans didn't care, but the Democrats did, so they would take whatever the Republicans gave them to take. Sorry, the Democrats. It's the same old story. And basically his brother became a skeleton and died. And 30 days later, his mother died of a botched cancer treatment. I'll tell a stupid Russian joke or allegory on this. And basically there was a bird, and it flew all around and started singing. And at some point, a cow came by and pooped on it, and the bird was trapped in the poop. So it started screaming for help. help, help, save me, I'm stuck in poop. And at some point, the bird felt that it was warm at least. So it felt a little bit warmer. It sat there and waited patiently for someone to come and dig it out of the poop. So at some point, a cat comes by, digs the bird very gently out of the poop, and cleans it up, makes sure that it's good and warm, and then it eats the bird. So the moral of the story is sometimes life gives you shit, and not every single person who poops on you is someone who wishes you harm, not necessarily. And not necessarily that not every person who digs you out of it necessarily wishes you good. And just in some cases, not all. If you're sitting in your shit but you feel comfortable enough for a while and warm, maybe don't scream and yell for help for a while. Just figure out if it actually helps you to scream for help. So basically, this is the allegory about the fact that not everyone who believes you that you have a serious condition is someone who's going to save you and not use you for emergency use authorization for drugs that have killed cancer patients in the past. Not sure if I butchered this thing or if I did it justice or not, but yeah, Russians are smart sometimes. After communism, they became smart, but before that. Thank you for listening, and happy holidays.